Hey guys, how are you doing today? So I said yesterday that I was going to talk about some of the attachment styles, and I never did. So I took a couple notes yesterday just because I want to make sure I say what is important that I think is important to the whole thing, because knowing the attachment styles, it's good because you end up knowing the expectations of the person, the needs of the persons, the perceptions about how they look at a relationship, what kind of rules, their boundaries or whatever, and just really knowing exactly what they're about can help you navigate through the steps that it takes to actually get to that blissful ending. Not ending is breaking up, but the end point of after the commitment. Well, yeah, after you committed, pretty much. So there's steps, okay? Hold on. Yeah, so they are pretty much the honeymoon stage. Well, no, the dating stage, the honeymoon, vice versa, however, you end up dating or whatever, but the honeymoon and the dating is kind of whatever. And then you have the power struggle stage, and then you have the stability, and then you pretty much have the commitment. So, yeah, I did that, right? I did that right. Honeymoon, dating, power struggle, stability. Wait, I just knew what the other one was. Honeymoon, dating, power struggle, stability. Whatever, I'll just get to it when I do. I had 6 in my head. I don't even know what I said the first time. Anyways, okay. So, you just really want to know their patterns and how they've been conditioned, and, if you know them and they know their upbringing, that helps a lot, because then you can understand their patterns even more. So I'm going to talk about the fearful avoidant, because I think that's my favorite one, because I relate to it very well. I'm going to kind of talk about them as a high level, because you can have traits of each one. So this one is just if it's pretty much all or the most of that attachment. Okay. So pretty much for a fearful avoidant, they can last from 0 to 6 months in the dating stage, or maybe even before it gets to a commitment. It doesn't really, they say 0 to 6 months. Oh, there we go. But I don't know. I think a fearful avoidant, okay, this is what they do. So in the dating stage, they have their great face on. They show their good side. They show that they're good communicators. They show their good, their good qualities, they don't show the flaws. They have the mask on. And then pretty much a fearful avoidant, and this attachment style is the only style that does this, okay? So once you get from the honeymoon and it kind of has an opportunity for a commitment, that's when you will see the fearful attachment individual. You'll see the avoidant there. When it says fearful avoidant, that's what it means. That's when the avoidant comes out. And it's kind of what happened, because they were just this super ultra amazing person, and now I want to make a commitment, and now they're freaking out and withdrawing and whatever. So they end up, they have obvious traits of the avoidant right away. They, where is it? I just wanted to make sure. Okay. So shying away from it, withdrawing, wanting space, isolating, being afraid of the commitment, not trusting fully. They start getting their trauma, their wounds, their what's it called? Wow. wow, why can't I think of it? Like, trauma, hold on. Wow, they're triggers, okay? So those are when, like, those start coming up. And then subconsciously, like, unsubtly, like, they don't even know they're doing it, they'll start focusing on the problems of what could happen in the relationship, how bad could it go. They start self-sabotaging the whole thing and looking for a problem that could go wrong. They start hyper-focusing on the partner's flaws. They start hyper-focusing on, everything that could go wrong. And then they start, what's it called? Emotionally dysregulating and about feeling vulnerable and trusting, and they push away the person, and they just get scared, and they just blame you for things because they just are trying to, like, just make an excuse, but they don't really know. So, like, when it makes it look like they're trying to, like, fix something in the relationship, and they're actually like, okay, like, this is a problem, like, blah, 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 it's actually them, like, literally, like, just subconsciously self-sabotaging the relationship, like, not even, like, knowing that they are, but they're not, like, that's just, like, their mechanisms as to, like, what they know, because they don't feel safe. So in order to feel safe, they kind of make the person distance, you know what I mean? So if you ever do get into, I want to say this first. So that's, like, kind of like how the fearful avoidant starts off. Like, it's like that, they say the 0 to 6 month thing, like, before, like, the commitment comes, but I don't know how true that is. I don't know how true that is. So, but pretty much, like, I want to add, like, the anxious avoidant or whatever, they can go on one date with you and they're going to want to be with you and want that commitment, like right away, because they're anxious and they want, they're scared about not being loved. So, you know what it's like to be anxious. So they're anxious about not being exclusive, not having a commitment, not, whatever. So after about 2 months, they say the anxious avoidant person will start getting very frustrated if you don't move along and give them, whatever. The dismissive avoidant, okay, dismissive avoidant is very analytical. They need to have enough information first in order to go forward. So pretty much, like, in the dating stage, that's, like, when they're there for the longest. Like, okay, so a dismissive avoidant, it can be, like, up to between 6 months to, like, a year and a half before you can get to the honeymoon stage with a dismissive avoidant, because they need to make sure, is this really going to work out? Is this person good for me? Like, what are the pros and cons? Like, they're just very analytical about everything. They need to know every little thing before they can make that decision. Also, it depends on what's going on in their life at the time. It depends on how they were brought up. Their triggers, they just go through everything before they even make a move. But once they're in the honeymoon stage, then that goes quick. So it's weird. Every attachment is different, though. But the fearful avoidant is the only one that will start to back away, like, and withdraw. And then that's when all their things come out. So after that, you have, hold on. So another thing is, like, with the anxious avoidant the most, it's like sometimes people just want to stay in one stage. Like, I want to on my honeymoon stage. Like, if you've been there forever, okay, and you're still loving it, and you're like, dude, what's wrong with, like, wanting to stay in the honeymoon stage? Okay, well, what's wrong with it? There's nothing wrong with it. It's awesome. You know what I mean? Like, the honeymoon stage in a relationship is the best. But you want to get to, like, the bliss, like, the end, like, after you've made the commitment and what you're getting. Like, the honeymoon stage is, like, in the beginning. Like, you got so much other stuff to work on until you get the honeymoon stage of the honeymoon stage of the honeymoon stage of the bliss. You know what I mean? So pretty much staying in one stage for a very long time actually stunts and stops the growth of the life cycle of the relationship. So it's pretty much like, you're not growing. You're still having the mask on. You're still being your best self. You're not showing, yourself. And usually also you're not even integrated yourself into that relationship, because I'll get there after. Okay. But you're not, when you're in a honeymoon stage, you're you're hyper focused on the person more than yourself. So yourself is not even in the relationship. You know what I mean? So it's like you're more focused on them, which it can cause imbalancing from giving and receiving. So then, then it builds up and you explode and have resentment. And, even though you can't expect somebody to know your expectations if they don't know. You know what I mean? You can't expect somebody to give you something in return if they don't even know, that you want something. But because you're also in a honeymoon phase, you don't want to say your needs. You're not going to put your vulnerability out there, and you're not going to be like, oh, well, they're not going to be met anyway, so it doesn't really matter. 11. Or they're not going to like me if I tell them that I need to do this. You know what I mean? So in the honeymoon stage, you're not even at a point where you're growing that life cycle of the relationship together and really getting to know each other. So then you move on to the power struggle stage. This is a very important stage. This is the make it or break it stage. Okay. So the power struggle is when, you work on communication together. You learn each other's flaws and imperfections. You work through the triggers together. You learn each other's let me see if there's just anything that I wanna. Yeah, so it's the most scariest, because the power struggle stage is if you can effectively get it right and with the passages of the requirements to be able to move on from that, being able to be vulnerable with your partner, being able to accept all sorry. It's when you can feel safe enough for you to be vulnerable, for them to be vulnerable, for you to understand where they're coming from and why they're coming from that way, and what their needs are and what they need, you know what I mean? And understand and empathize with what they're trying to say and their perception and their side of things. And, you just learn each other and you find common ground where, what I just said, where the person's coming from, what they mean, their perception on it, their needs, their vulnerability, your vulnerability, you caring about their vulnerability, you caring about, their needs, and empathizing and just accepting them exactly for who they are and their imperfections. Okay. So then if you do all that, you can understand how to express yourself with the person and how to express your needs and do it respectfully and consistently and from an emotionally regulated space, rather than, ending up being emotionally whatever and not being able to do it. So you really want to take that time to get into each other's flaws, find each other's triggers, find each other, really discuss it and get into it and really get to know your person. Because if you don't get through this stage, the next stage is the stability stage, you know what I mean? So it doesn't matter how long this stage even takes, because if you really want to be with this person and you really care about this person and you really want to move forward with them, you won't care how long it takes in order for you to either feel comfortable to move on with them and be in a relationship with them and be in a committed relationship with them, or, what was I going to say? Or you want to get to know that person as much as you can before getting into that. And again, you want to feel safe as well, being able to express your own needs. Again, because if you're more focused on the other person's needs, your needs aren't getting met, and then it's just an imbalance of give and receive, and then it's just a big mess. So it's very hard to, be vulnerable with even your friends or your coworkers or anything and, say whatever. But if you can master like the emotionally regulated with your partner and with them knowing your flaws and you being able to be vulnerable and everything. Like, you can actually, if you can master that, you can like you're good with like any conversation that comes up. Like, you're good, like you're cool, calm, and collect. You know what I mean? Coming into the whole thing, you can master conflict, and just really, it's a good thing to master your emotionally regulated side, how to be able to communicate in a respectful way and an effective way, whatever. So let's go into stability. So the stability is when, you've already accepted the person for who they are, so it's not something that you can really, like, bitch about because you already, like, accepted them for it. You know what I mean by that? Like, you can't really go back and be like, oh, you do this, and they're going to be like, yeah, but you already knew that, and you already accepted that because we're already at this stage. You know what I mean? Like, something like that. Okay. So when you get to the stability stage, that's when you have to, like, strategize through... We have to make sure that you have strategized through everything in the power struggle stage, so you're not, like, subconsciously still sabotaging yourself. But yeah, if you can master that, like, it will show up in your physical health, your physical life, your emotional and mental health, relationships outside of the romantic, and out of your friends, the workplace. Because you won't be focusing on your trauma and you're in relationships on a daily basis. Like, you'll be able to be released of your trauma and not be thinking the whole time, talking to people like, oh my God, like this and that, like feeling unsafe and like feeling like you're going to get triggered and you can't be vulnerable. You know what I mean? So it's like, if you can get to a point where you can master that kind of communication, you're good. You will be able to have any kind of conversation confidently enough to lay it out on the line, like how whatever you need, whatever you want, you tell them, and you're not gonna hide it. It's like, no, like, you are gonna tell whoever it is what you need in order to be able to do whatever they're asking you to do or whatever. You know what I mean? So yeah, so the power struggle stage is the really important one. It's the make it or break it. That's when you pretty much are going to find out if you really want to be with this person or not, because that's when you find out the most of them. Did I say? I don't know if I said it. Okay. So the stability stage, we're just trying to find stability. Like, since you move into stability stage from the power struggle stage. Wow, whatever. And it's really, like, characterized by feeling the deeper acceptance and connection of one another and feeling safe. And just feeling like all the drama is, like, fading away, and you can, like, kind of like start over, but like they get healed. Like, the person, like, helps you heal. Like, relationships is not about romance. It's about growth. It's about if that person can help you grow in your life to be the best version of yourself with you at the same time. So it's like, people are like, oh, blah, blah, blah. Like, no, like, you can believe whatever you want, but, like, technically, like, we're here for a purpose. So it's like, when you meet somebody, you are going to want to be with them because they help you grow as a person and evolve, and you do the same for them. And so you step up, and you know what I mean? And you help each other do that. I mean, the last person that I was dealing with, like, he made me, well, he didn't make me, but he helped a lot to be how I am now. Like, when I met him, I was a fucking mess. I was wounded. I was beat. I was not in a really good place. And he wasn't either. But the thing is that even though we're not together, and even though we weren't at that time, like, we still built each other up during that time. We both pulled each other out of that rabbit hole. Like, we both pulled each other out of the black abyss. You know what I mean? Like, we built each other up. Like, and I might have gotten out of it sooner than he did, but it's also because I'm older. Two, I've learned all this stuff before. I just never really applied it to anything. I'm not saying I'm better or anything than him. I think I just have more experience and I have more knowledge about this stuff because I'm older, like, whatever. I mean, also, I go to therapy. I've been in therapy for long. I don't think he's ever been in therapy. But yeah, so at a certain point, you know, I got a lot of confidence from him. I really did. And it was in really fucked up ways, kind of. But if he didn't do those things, I would have never grown. I never would have. So I thank him for that. All the fucked up things that happened between us, I thank him for those. Because you know what? I believe that in our lives, we go through lessons in order to grow. Okay? Everybody has their own karma. So if I'm dealing with you and you don't have unfinished, like, karma with somebody or something or a lesson that you need to learn, like, I'm going to be affected by your shit. So it's like, if you are wounded, you're going to project your shit onto me, and then I'm going to get wounded because since you were wounded, and it's like, once somebody does something to you, then you feel like it's okay to do it to another person. Do you know what I mean? So it's like, karma is going to come back, and whatever he made me feel, he's going to get it 10 times worse. But still, like, that's not my point, and I don't want him to go through that. I love him to death. But it's like, it's not about romance. I mean, yeah, make sure you have the romance and stuff, but it's about building each other up. So it's like, I got to this point where I can do these videos. I can teach my shit. I can, you know, just have more confidence in myself. And if it wasn't for him, I wouldn't have been able to do that on my own. Like, I really wouldn't have. Like, he helped me so much. Like, so much. And he doesn't even know. Like, he doesn't even know how much he helped me and how much he's worth. But, yeah. But, yeah, so, I don't even remember where I was. Oh, yeah, stability. Like, it's more about reproducing and growing. Because you need to find your life purpose. You know what I mean? So, the significant other is there to, you know, whatever. Especially if it's twin flame, then it's mirroring the hell out of you. So whatever, we're not going to go there. Okay, so stabilizing. You know, you just want to, you start to, at the point where you're stable with each other, where you subconsciously, because you've already went through the power struggle stage, you know them better. So if you know that your partner likes to go to bed early, you know, and you guys are going to, like, one of your friends' parties, and it starts at 6 o'clock, you're going to automatically, subconsciously know, like, okay, he is going to want to go home soon, so, like, I'm going to already know in my head, like, we're leaving soon, and stuff like that. Like, you're already going to know. Or, like, say you go to a party, and, like, your girlfriend or boyfriend's, like, at home. Like, it's like you want to make them feel reassured that they're safe and validate them and send them, like, a loving text message, like, you know what I mean, while you're there, just so they're safe and they know. So it's like, that's, like, more of the stability. Is that all I want to do? Yeah, so that's more of the stability. But when you get into the stability one, you know, because you know them, it's like you get bored. Well, you can get bored. It doesn't mean you're gonna. But then you can get bored. The brain infatuates on the things that we do not have that we want. So our needs are not being met. So say you're fantasizing about another person. There's something about that person that you're fantasizing about because you're not getting your needs met of what that is that you want from them. You know what I mean? So, like, maybe your girlfriend doesn't dress up for you anymore. You know what I mean? And, like, you see this beautiful woman and you're like, wow, I really like that dress, da-da-da. And then you think to yourself, why doesn't she dress like that for me anymore? You know what I mean? So, like, when you can figure out what it is that you're fantasizing or what you're obsessed with a person, a thing, something, whatever, that's how you know that your needs are not being met in that relationship. And from having that knowledge and having that lesson that you learned, you can bring whatever you know it is that you aren't getting, that you need, into your relationship and be able to connect on a deeper depth of love and just like recreate all of it again, because that person will like know, you know what I mean? So then we get to commitment. Dun dun dun. I'm just kidding. Okay, so this is what I wrote down. So the commitment part isn't about like marriage, kids, like moving, like career, you know what? Well, career, that's not really part of it. You know what I mean? It's like, it's more of like what's required to truly like assess the values and everything that you both like have, like line up together. So, you know, like, what do you both want for your future? What is your vision? What is your both of your visions' future? Do they match up? You know, do you want kids? Do you both want the same thing? How do you want your lifestyle to be? Do you want to live here? Do you want to live there? Where do you want your school system for your kids? Where do you want to travel? Be a nomad, a fucking gypsy, whatever. You just gotta make sure, even in the beginning, when you're going towards a commitment, try to already know these things, because once you get to the commitment stage and you're like, oh no, I don't want that. I don't want that. I want that. Then it's like, what the fuck, what do you want me to do? And there could be like deal breakers, you know what I mean? And you know, whatever. So, is that it? Is that all I have to really say? Yeah, it's pretty much just saying, like, after you have these conversations, after you go through all these stages, and once you've mastered all of them and you know that you can move to these stages, or you see that they are moving to these stages, you know, you just got to make sure, like, that's when your mask comes off. That's when the other person really, this is what I wanted to say, this is when the person really sees you for who you are and not just what they saw in the honeymoon stage. And that's why they say you don't want to stay in the honeymoon stage, because they don't know you. You still have the mask on. They don't know your flaws. They don't know, you know, your triggers. They don't know any of that. And that's when it's like your needs aren't getting met still. And it's just like, that's when a lot of people lose their sense of self. So it's like, you don't want to be in the honeymoon stage and stay there and stay in any phase for that long, because that growth isn't coming. So if it's not coming and you're hyper focused on a person and you're not integrated into the relationship, then it's like, it's not going to work anyways. And if you're stuck at a certain point, try to figure out what it is that you're stuck on, so you can go back to that phase and learn whatever lesson it was that you needed to learn in the first place in order to move on. So I know I pretty much like went through stages of whatever, but like from a fearful avoidant, pretty much for them, they'll be great, you know, communication. And I'm not saying they're not. Like, I'm not saying they're not, you know what I mean? But like, they put on a good show in the beginning of who they are. What are the good qualities about them? They don't show any bad at all. And a lot of people don't when they're just meeting, you know what I mean? Especially narcissists. But like, I'm just saying, so then, you know, then as soon as a commitment offer comes up, that's when they start causing problems, because they're too scared. It's not because they don't like you. It's not because they don't love you. It's not that they don't want to be in a commitment with you. It's just because they're scared. They haven't had enough of their needs met from their caretakers or anybody, or ex-boyfriends, you know, all that stuff. So it's like they need to figure out, when you're with a fearful avoidant, I feel like there's more work to do than other ones, because they're running away like as soon as something serious comes up. But like, they want it. I mean, we're talking about the ones that want it, but they want it. It's not that they don't. It's just that they have so much shit that they haven't cleared up and healed, and so much wounds, like abandonment, like rejection, like I'm not good enough, like I'm not this or that, you know what I mean? So getting into a commitment and already feeling like that is very hard. It's very hard. So once you can, you know, heal those wounds, it will be easier to heal from that attachment and maybe not have any attachment whatsoever. But when you have that, it is very hard for the person that is dealing with the fearful avoidant to, you know, really make sense of it. And that's another reason why I'm making these videos, because if somebody comes across from it, somebody ever does, you know what I mean? It's kind of for me too. It's just fun for me. Yeah, but because, like, if people come across this and they notice, like, hey, my girlfriend or my boyfriend or whatever are like this, maybe that's why, they can understand and work with it. But if you have two fearful, avoidant people together, which I have done, if you can, I feel like if you're with another fearful avoidant and you're a fearful avoidant, I feel like if you guys can really make it work, and you get to that power struggle stage, you two are going to be the ones that pretty much heal each other from, if you really like each other. Like, say, like, you have abandonment problems, you know what I mean? Like, if you really start to know another person in that power struggle stage, you get comfortable, you know what I mean? You get to a point where you feel safe. So it's like that person is helping you with that wound by showing you they're not leaving. You know what I mean? But obviously for a fearful avoidant, I mean, I know it's really hard, but it's like, even myself, I'm a fearful avoidant. I have a lot of fearful avoidant in me. For me, I've ran away so many times, and it's like, I've done the whole self-sabotaging thing too, but the other person has too. You know what I mean? It's like, we both have, but what was I going to say? Hold on. Oh yeah, I remember now. If you're fearful avoidance and you run right away, you know, you're not even going to know if that person could get to know you or could make you safe. Or if you don't try as a fearful avoidant, you're never going to know. I mean, if you can get to a point of being a fearful avoidant where you can get rejected and you can deal with them leaving, then, you know, it's kind of different. But for a fearful avoidant that just can't face those things, it's going to be hard for them to actually try to get into a power struggle stage with another person, because they don't want to feel those things that they felt when they got abandoned or when they got rejected or when they didn't feel like they were enough, you know what I mean, from their caregivers. So they don't want to feel those feelings again, so they run from it before they can. And I think a lot of people do. I think a lot of people have the fearful avoidant in them, in that particular thing, maybe not the running away thing. But that's when you really get to know somebody. So for a fearful avoidant, you should, this is for myself too, it's kind of like when people are like, no, I don't want to ask that person something, or no, I don't want to ask that, but whatever. It's like, what is going to happen? They're going to say no, that's it. I mean, you're still kind of getting a no if you don't even ask. You know what I mean? Like, nothing's being done still. So it's like, whatever's going to happen is you're going to get a no. That's the worst that can happen. If you can deal with knowing that the worst can happen is you might get abandoned, they might leave, they might be mean to you, you know what I mean? But you can always leave too. Like, you don't have to stay in it. So, like, that's all I'm going to say. I hope somebody got something out of this, and I hope I didn't just talk for 35 minutes for nothing. All right, I'll see you guys later. Have a great night. Oh, I didn't do that thing. Okay. All right. 33. I will see you guys later. Bye.